I get $100 million every day, but I'm forced to go to college. The system's base allowance of $100 million for the day had already landed in my account. I hadn't even had a chance to enjoy it before my parents practically shoved me into the car headed for Yueching Jiaodong University. I stared at the dizzying string of zeros in my mobile banking app, then at the scenery sliding past the window, and for a moment I seriously felt like jumping out of the car. Who would have thought that someone who automatically received $100 million every single day would still have to go to college, and even take part in freshman military training? Just then, the system's cold voice sounded in my head again. Warning, host must not reveal the existence of the system to anyone. Otherwise, the system will terminate immediately. I nearly swore out loud. I had more money than I could ever spend, yet I couldn't tell my family the truth. So in front of my parents, I had no choice but to keep pretending I was an ordinary college student. Before leaving, Mom kept reminding me, "Luo Chuan, study hard once you get to school. Don't spend all day thinking about having fun." I nodded mechanically. Got it. Inside, though, I was screaming. Study for what? I got $100 million a day, and after graduation they wanted me to find a job? Not a chance. The car finally stopped outside Yueching Jiaodong University. The moment my parents drove away, I felt like I had been given my freedom back. Then a bright voice came from beside me. "Are you a freshman this year?" I looked up. A girl in a blue baseball cap was standing in front of me. She wore a loose t-shirt and athletic pants, with a clean, energetic look and strikingly pretty features. "Hi, I'm Shinmayan, a sophomore," she said with a smile. "You probably don't know your way around yet. I'll show you where your class is." She was very friendly. But at that moment, I wasn't actually concerned about where the classroom was. What I really wanted to know was, how exactly could I drop out of this school? Still, once Shinmayan turned and started walking ahead, I couldn't help looking at her a couple more times. She glanced back. "Where are you from?" For some reason, my mind wandered for a second. In the end, I only remembered where my classroom was. I didn't even attend class. I slipped straight out of the university. Class? Military training? That could wait. I flagged down a taxi. The driver asked, "Where to?" "The BMW dealership." He checked me in the rearview mirror several times, probably assuming I was some kid going there to look at cars and take pictures. I couldn't be bothered to explain. Once I entered the showroom, I walked straight up to a black BMW X7. The salesperson had barely started her pitch. "Sir, this model currently comes equipped with." I handed her my bank card. "I'll pay in full." She froze. "Wouldn't you like to hear about the options first?" "No need. Just run the card." She had clearly prepared a whole sales presentation, and in the end she didn't get to use a single line of it. Even after I'd signed the contract and the payment went through, the way she looked at me had completely changed. She was probably starting to wonder if I was some billionaire's son who had enrolled in college just to experience normal life. Once I had the keys, I drove the black BMW X7 right out of the dealership. After spending the entire morning running around, I was starving. I picked a random roadside noodle shop and somehow ran into the same taxi driver from earlier. He looked at the X7 parked outside, then looked at me. His eyes went wide. "Kid, you actually bought it?" "Yeah." While eating my noodles, I casually asked, "Where's the nearest Porsche dealership?" The driver stopped talking altogether. I spent most of that afternoon buying things. First, I ordered a purple Porsche Taycan and a black Panamera. Then I went to a Lamborghini showroom and ordered a supercar. The only problem was that none of them were immediately available, so delivery would take a few days. After buying the cars, I went to a mall, bought a pile of clothes, and replaced my phone with the newest trifold model. It wasn't until evening that I drove the BMW X7 back to campus. Yueching had plenty of wealthy people, so even though an X7 was expensive, it still wasn't enough to make everyone stop and stare. I parked near the cafeteria and immediately spotted Shinmayan playing badminton with a few girls. I walked over. "Mayan." She turned just as a shuttlecock smacked her on the head. "Ow." She covered her head and looked at me, a little embarrassed. "Oh, it's you. Tang Luo Chuan, right?" "Yeah." I nodded. "I'm going to get something to eat." Her eyes instinctively flicked toward the BMW behind me. When I started to leave, the girls around her immediately crowded in. "Mayan, who was that?" "A freshman." "A freshman driving an X7? Just then, a guy walked over. His name was Zhou Jiao. He was an economics student and one of Shinmayan's persistent admirers. "Mayan, you haven't eaten yet, right? Let's go together." He was even carrying snacks in his hands. The smile on Shinmayan's face visibly faded. No, thanks. But Zhou Jio had no intention of leaving. Mayan, Zhang Ting and I already broke up. Stop being mad about what happened before. Shinmayan finally frowned. What does whether you broke up with Zhang Ting have to do with me? We're not even friends. And I'm not interested in hearing about your relationship. Is that clear enough? Zhou Jio's expression immediately turned ugly. I'd already walked a few steps away when I suddenly remembered something and turned back. Mayan. She looked at me at once. What is it? I felt a little awkward. Do you need a dining card to eat in the cafeteria? I haven't gotten mine yet. She laughed. Come on. Use mine. I'll treat you. That doesn't feel right. I was about to go find my roommates when one of the girls beside her laughed and said, It's fine, handsome. The rest of us can chip in too. Zhou Jio immediately cut in. Why make it so complicated? I'll pay for the freshman. That was when I finally gave him a proper look. I didn't know why, but the fake warmth in his smile rubbed me the wrong way. So I answered directly. No thanks. Mayan already invited me. I'll eat with her. Zhou Jio's smile froze on the spot. Shinmayan, on the other hand, burst out laughing. All right, let's go. If we wait any longer, all the good food will be gone. Once we got inside the cafeteria, I ordered whatever looked best. Before long, the table was completely covered with food. Shinmayan looked at the total and clearly regretted volunteering to treat me. One of the girls asked, Can you really finish all that? We're all eating together. I pulled out my phone. I'll transfer the money to Mayan. Then technically I'm treating everyone. I added Shinmayan as a contact and transferred a little extra. You sent too much, she said. It's fine. Thanks for helping me out. Then I focused on eating. The girls had originally assumed I was using the meal as an excuse to flirt with Shinmayan. After watching me for a while, they realized I was just genuinely hungry. Once I was full, I suddenly looked at Shinmayan with a serious expression. The girls immediately exchanged knowing glances. Apparently, they all thought I was finally about to say something important. Shinmayan quieted down too. Then I asked, Mayan, is there any way to get out of freshman military training? Everyone froze for 2 seconds, then burst out laughing. Shinmayan tried to hold back a smile. You got that serious just to ask me this? Yeah. It's exhausting. I don't want to do it. She said, normally, no. Unless you have a fairly serious medical condition and can provide a hospital certificate. I actually started thinking that over seriously. At that moment, thunder suddenly rumbled outside. A second later, rain started coming down. I immediately checked the weather on my phone and quickly broke into a grin. Perfect. It's supposed to rain heavily for days. Shinmayan looked puzzled. Why are you so happy about rain? You don't understand. I just checked. The drainage on the school athletic field is terrible. Whenever it rains hard, military training gets suspended. Isn't this basically the universe helping me out? The more I talked, the happier I got, and I almost let the truth slip. Anyway, I get 100 million every. Shinmayan immediately looked at me. 100 million what? I corrected myself at once. Nothing. I was saying how nice it would be to just relax quietly every day. She narrowed her eyes at me. She obviously thought I was making things up. The rain grew heavier. When a cold draft blew in, Shinmayan hunched her shoulders slightly. That reminded me I still had some of the clothes I'd just bought in the trunk, so I went and pulled out a brand new Prada jacket. The tag was still attached. Here, wear this for now. Shinmayan froze when she saw the price tag. This is expensive. It's brand new? Yeah. I haven't even worn it myself. She hesitated for a moment, then accepted it. Thanks. I'll wash it when I get back and return it to you. After that, we all headed back to the classroom. I also met a few of my roommates. 2 of them were Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming. The moment Zhou Qi sat down, he asked smugly, Luo Chuan, do you have a girlfriend? I just started dating someone today. If you're single, I can introduce you to somebody. I couldn't help looking at him. I'd spent my entire afternoon trying to spend money, while this guy had spent his trying to stop being single. Then Zhang Ming suddenly lowered his voice. She's here. The entire class looked toward the door. A girl walked in wearing a black turtleneck, loose pants, and white canvas shoes. There was nothing flashy about her outfit, yet she was so beautiful that she stood out instantly. The room even went quiet for a moment. Her name was Jiang Jingyue. Zhou Qi lowered his voice and said, This is ridiculous. Every other girl in the room practically disappears next to her. I didn't feel that strongly about it. I just thought Jiang Jingyue seemed a little cold. After coming in, she sat by herself and didn't talk to anyone around her. Jiang Ming nudged me. What do you think? Interested? Why don't you go after her yourself? He immediately shook his head. Forget it. A girl like that? I wouldn't dare. I wasn't planning to pursue her either. Sure, I had money. That didn't mean I had to chase every beautiful woman I saw. Not long afterward, Shinmayan walked into the classroom carrying some materials. She was still wearing my Prada jacket. Hi, everyone. I'm Shinmayan, a sophomore. I'm here today to help you get familiar with the class. She said a few words, then had everyone introduce themselves one by one. When it was my turn, I was still on my phone searching for the best restaurants in Yuecheng. Zhou Qi bumped my arm. Luo Chuan. Your turn. Only then did I look up. Everyone in the class was staring at me, and quite a few people had also noticed my trifold phone. I stood. I'm Tang Luo Chuan. I'm from Shuicheng. Shinmayan smiled and asked, any hobbies? I answered without thinking. Sports. The truth was, I wasn't especially interested in anything. After that, several of the guys took turns showing themselves off. One deliberately flashed an expensive watch. Another said he liked playing golf. Someone else mentioned that he spoke Spanish and had recently been reading 100 Years of Solitude in the original language. No one came right out and said, I'm rich or I'm impressive, but every sentence was carefully designed to make them sound better than they were. Jiang Jinghua, however, showed no reaction at all. When it was her turn to introduce herself, almost every guy in the room listened closely. I was the only one still debating something else. Should I buy a villa? Or a huge luxury apartment? Shinmayan finally couldn't help reminding me. Tang Luo Chuan. What are you even looking at? I put my phone away and happened to notice Jiang Jinghua turning back to glance at me too. Sorry, I said. She answered coolly, it's fine. Then she introduced herself. Jiang Jinghua. I'm from Yuecheng. I live in Baiting District. The moment people heard Baiting, several expressions changed. It was one of Yuecheng's best-known wealthy neighborhoods, filled with old villas worth staggering amounts of money. Someone asked, does your family live in one of those old villas over there? Jiang Jinghua only smiled. That was answer enough. A lot of people in the class immediately realized that she wasn't merely well off. She was a genuine heiress from a wealthy family. Meanwhile, when I heard the words old villa and rich neighborhood, my first thought was sounds nice. I should go look at property there sometime. After class, Jiang Jinghua noticed the jacket Shinmayan was wearing. That's a men's Prada jacket, isn't it? Shinmayan looked a little embarrassed. It's not mine. Jiang Jinghua asked naturally, your boyfriend's? He has good taste. That one should cost more than 20,000 yuan. Shinmayan immediately looked at me. Luo Chuan, your jacket really costs over 20,000? I paused. I don't know. I bought a lot of clothes at once. I didn't keep track of the prices. She looked even more surprised. You buy clothes without asking how much they cost? Why ask? It's not like they'll give me a discount just because I know the price. The moment I said that, even the usually aloof Jiang Jinghua laughed. I looked at her. Is that really so funny? She only laughed harder. Shinmayan said, the jacket got wet earlier. I'll wash it when I get back and return it to you. I waved it off. Whatever. You can keep it if you want. I have plenty more. Just then, a guy came running over with an umbrella. He was obviously another one of Shinmayan's admirers. When he saw the jacket on her, he deliberately said, that's a pretty convincing knockoff. Those one-to-one replicas are getting better and better these days. The area went quiet instantly. I looked at him. Your eyes are that good? You can tell whether it's real from 10 feet away? The guy immediately looked smug. Of course. One of my relatives does overseas luxury shopping for clients. If that jacket were authentic, it'd cost at least 20,000 yuan. What college student here could afford something like that? I scratched my ear. Am I not a college student? Before he could answer, Zhang Ming suddenly ran out of the classroom. Luo Chuan, you left your car key on the desk. I looked down. A BMW key. Oh, I really did. Thanks. My mom's always saying I forget things everywhere. I took the key, then looked at Shinmayan. I'll drive you back to your dorm. The other guy's expression immediately soured, though he still refused to back down. What do you drive? A BMW X7. He had clearly prepared a whole list of sarcastic remarks. The second he heard X7, every one of them died in his throat. I even asked him, you know so much about cars. What do you drive? He took half a step back. I have something to do. I should go. Then he actually ran off. After Shinmayan got into the front passenger seat of the BMW, the rain outside started pouring again. I checked the weather and immediately perked up. There was hope that military training would be cancelled after all. But Shinmayan kept sneaking glances at me. She had obviously misunderstood. She probably thought I was so happy because she was sitting next to me. Sure enough, before long, a notice appeared in the group chat. Because of the continued rain, outdoor military training would temporarily be replaced with indoor activities. Several guys in the car groaned. I was in a fantastic mood. Isn't there a really good hotel or restaurant nearby? Has anyone been? Jiang Jingwei answered, Royal Banquet. The place is decent, but it's expensive. I nodded. Then I'll treat everyone tomorrow. The car went silent. We had only just met each other, and I was already offering to take everyone somewhere like that. The way they looked at me changed immediately. Someone said, Luo Chuan, you really don't need to spend that much. But I was already thinking about something else. My spending was only going to get more outrageous from here. I couldn't tell anyone about the system. Sooner or later, I'd need an explanation from my parents. If I couldn't think of anything better, I'd just tell them I'd made money in the stock market. Shinmayan clearly wanted to go, but she seemed too embarrassed to be the first one to agree. So I asked her directly, Mayan, are you coming? Her face reddened slightly. If everyone else goes, I'll go. I turned to the others. You heard her. If none of you go, she won't go either. My roommates immediately agreed. Shinmayan, however, said quietly, what if we split the bill? Someone beside us shouted at once, then I'm not going. Who can afford to split a meal at Royal Banquet? She looked a little awkward. Ben, I'll buy everyone milk tea. I actually like that about her. At least she didn't enjoy taking advantage of other people. It's fine. I'll pay. One of my roommates reminded me, Jiang Jingyue hasn't answered yet. Only then did I remember. Jiang Jingyue, you coming? I expected her to refuse. Instead, she gave one simple answer. Yes. That actually puzzled me. Her own family obviously wasn't short on money. Why did she want to come? When the car reached the women's dormitory, Shinmayan had barely stepped out before people around the entrance started teasing her. Mayan, you came back in an X7? Who drove you? Why is your face so red? She hurried to explain. It's not what you think. Then, 1 second later, Jiang Jingyue got out of the same car. The onlookers were even more shocked. 2 of the most beautiful girls on campus had just climbed out of the same vehicle. I ignored everyone and drove off. Behind me, Shinmayan suddenly called out. Luo Chuan. I lowered the window. What? She smiled and waved. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Then I drove away. But by that evening, rumors about me had spread all over campus. In the men's dorm, Zhou kept replaying a video of Shinmayan getting out of my BMW. His expression grew darker every time he watched it. One of his roommates joked, you're done for. Your dream girl just got stolen by a freshman. Zhou snapped, shut up. Someone else said, still, that freshman really is loaded. A BMW X7? Even a lot of juniors are talking about him now. Another guy scoffed. You actually believe that? People pull this stunt all the time. Rent a luxury car, pretend to be a rich kid, then use it to pick up girls. The moment Zhou heard the words rent a car, his eyes lit up. His roommate kept analyzing it. He's a freshman. Even if his parents have money, would they really buy him a car that expensive the second he starts college? Plenty of families own multiple apartments and their kids still bike to class. I'd say there's an 80% chance it's rented. The more Zhou thought about it, the more reasonable it sounded. The guy continued, I know people who rent Ferraris for the weekend, then drive to other universities to hit on girls. Why other universities? Too many people know them at their own schools. They'd get exposed. This guy just enrolled. Nobody knows his background yet. Zhou abruptly stood up. Then I'll rent one too. You know where I can get one? Sure. An X7 isn't even that expensive per day. Zhou gave a cold laugh. I want a Porsche. Don't girls like Porsches more? Before long, all kinds of rumors about me started appearing in the campus group chats. Back in the women's dorm, Shinmayan had barely returned when Wang Fengfeng crowded around her. Mayan, was that freshman the one who drove you back today? Yeah. I still haven't returned his jacket. Li Jiechi was listening nearby. She had always liked dating wealthy guys. She went through several boyfriends a year and often bragged that she never had to spend a cent when she was in a relationship. Wang Fengfeng touched the Prada jacket. Is this really over 20,000 yuan? Jiang Jingyue said so. Shinmayan quickly warned her, don't damage it. I can't afford to replace it. Li Jiechi took the jacket and pretended to inspect it for a long time. It's fake. The color is a little off. The stitching is wrong too. And this hardware is obviously from a high-end replica. In reality, she knew almost nothing about luxury goods. She had just watched some authentication videos online. Her roommates, however, didn't know that. Wang Fengfeng looked shocked. Seriously? But doesn't he drive a BMW X7? Li Jieqi laughed. Renting a car isn't hard. People in the group chats are already saying his car is rented too. Shinmayan didn't completely believe her. Jiang Jingyue had personally said the jacket was authentic. Would someone from a family like Jiang Jingyue's really be unable to tell whether Prada was real or fake? Just then, Wang Fengfeng suddenly picked up her phone. Look at the group chat. It's exploding. In only a few hours, 3 different versions of my life story had appeared. Version 1. I was a poor student who had taken out loans to rent luxury cars and buy fake designer clothes so I could force my way into wealthy social circles. Now I was supposedly buried in debt. Version 2. I was a professional scammer who pretended to be a rich second-generation heir in order to trick girls. Version 3 was even more ridiculous. Someone claimed that the BMW X7 had been given to me by a wealthy woman in her 40s and that I was basically her kept boy. Someone on the anonymous campus message board even claimed. I checked with the BMW dealership. They don't have any customer by his name. His clothes are all fake too. The comments were full of mockery. How could a freshman possibly drive an X7? Shinmayan probably got fooled. The university should deal with someone like this. Li Jieqi took the opportunity to say, rumors don't come from nowhere. If there were really nothing wrong with him, why would so many people suddenly be saying the same thing? Mayan, return the jacket tomorrow and stay away from him. Shinmayan didn't agree. She simply didn't think I acted like a scammer. If someone were actually using a luxury car to fool girls, wouldn't he be doing everything possible to impress them? All I seemed to care about was eating and getting out of military training. Meanwhile, back in the men's dorm, I didn't care about any of it. I was lying on my bed scrolling through short videos. My roommates were more anxious than I was. Luo Chuan, aren't you angry at all? Someone's already reported you to the school. You could get disciplined. I didn't even look up. Why would I be angry? Then a thought suddenly occurred to me. If they actually expelled me, wouldn't that mean I didn't have to go to college anymore? The second that idea entered my head, I opened a travel app and started planning where I'd go after dropping out. The next morning, another $100 million arrived from the system right on schedule. After washing up, I saw 2 new messages. The first was a friend request from Jiang Jingyue. The second was from Shinmayan. Your jacket is still drying in the dorm. I washed it yesterday, but the weather's bad, so it hasn't dried yet. I accepted Jiang Jingyue's request, then replied to Shinmayan. No problem. After that, I headed out under an umbrella with my roommates. Zhang Ming asked, Luo Chuan, why do you only play those games where spending money makes your character stronger? Aren't fair competitive games more fun? I answered, I already have money. Why would I want to compete fairly with everyone else? The others had no idea how to respond. As we passed the women's dorm, we saw Jiang Jingyue standing downstairs surrounded by admirers. One guy brought her breakfast. No. Someone else gave her flowers. She glanced at them once. I don't like them. And they're too cheap. Another guy offered her name-brand cosmetics. Jiang Jingyue took one look and handed them back. That brand is too heavy on the skin. I don't use it. The kind I normally use costs over 3,000 yuan a bottle. The guys around her instantly fell silent. I muttered under my breath, someone's giving you free stuff and you're still this picky. Zhou Qi bumped me with his elbow. Bro, think you could handle a rich young lady like that? I glared at him. I was just wishing she'd stay single forever, and now you want me to chase her? Get lost. But just as I was about to walk away, Jiang Jingyue suddenly called out. Tang Luo Chuan. I stopped. What? Going to the cafeteria? I answered immediately, let me make one thing clear first. I don't run around buying meals for girls. That's simp behavior. Everyone thought I was nervous. Instead, Jiang Jingyue laughed. I didn't ask you to buy anything. I'm going to the cafeteria too. Let's go together. She casually pulled out her dining card. Besides, aren't you treating everyone tonight? Only then did I remember that I still hadn't gotten my own dining card. Fine. We had barely walked a few steps when Shinmayan's voice came from behind us. Wait. She ran over. Luo Chuan, your jacket still isn't dry. It's fine. Jiang Jingyue asked, how did you wash it? I soaked it in water, added detergent, and rubbed it a few times. Jiang Jingyue's expression became strange. You can't wash that jacket like that. Especially not by soaking it for too long. Shinmayan immediately panicked. I didn't ruin it, did I? What am I supposed to do? It was so expensive. I didn't care at all. If it's still wearable, wear it. If it's not, forget it. Jiang Jinghua couldn't help asking, you don't feel bad about it at all? I looked at her. Why do you ask so many questions? To my surprise, she actually stopped talking. Once we reached the cafeteria, Shinmayan was still apologizing because she hadn't publicly defended me the day before. I'm sorry. I didn't speak up for you in the group chats. It's fine. Let them say whatever they want. It's not like their words are going to take a piece out of me. She still looked worried. But I heard the university has already started looking into it. That immediately got my attention. Do you think they'll expel me? Jiang Jinghua glanced at me. Almost certainly not. Driving onto campus isn't a serious offense. People are just jealous of you. I was a little surprised. She actually understood the situation pretty well. While eating, I opened a mobile game. After dumping a lot of money into it the day before, my character had become absurdly powerful. I finally realized something. It wasn't that pay-to-win games had never been fun before. I'd just never had enough money before. Shinmayan asked curiously, what are you smiling at? I showed her the screen. This guy can't beat me. Now he's cursing me out. She looked even more confused. You're happy that he's insulting you? He's only insulting me because he can't beat me. Doesn't that prove I crushed him? She thought about it. That actually seemed to make sense. So you're really good at the game? Can you carry me? I shook my head. This game doesn't require skill. Then what does it require? Money. The more you spend, the stronger you get. She asked, how much did you spend? I answered casually, not much. Zhou finally couldn't take it anymore. Mayan, you really shouldn't learn from him. He dumped tens of thousands of yuan into that game yesterday. The spoon in Shinmayan's hand almost fell. How much? Jiang Ming adjusted his glasses. We saw it ourselves. Even Jiang Jinghua gave me a noticeably longer look. Just then, my phone vibrated. My academic counselor had sent me a message. Tang Luochuan. Come to my office. I sighed. Finally. Shinmayan immediately said, I'll go with you. I can testify for you. No need. If you go, it'll only make things more complicated. Jiang Jinghua said calmly, good luck. I took my umbrella and headed to the administration building. Counselor Wang was sitting in the office with two members of the student union. He asked, do you know why I called you here? The car? Not just the car. There are rumors about you all over the university now. Some people say you rent luxury cars. Some say you wear fake designer clothes. Some even say you're being kept by a wealthy older woman. I almost laughed. They've got pretty active imaginations. Then I said plainly, I bought the car myself. Paid in full. The clothes are real too. And the whole wealthy woman story is completely made up. The female student union member beside him immediately said, you just started college and you're already driving such an expensive car onto campus. If that isn't showing off your wealth, what is? I asked, is being rich illegal? The male student union member said, even if the car really is yours, it still creates a bad influence. At that moment, my phone suddenly rang. I answered. It was the Porsche dealership. Mr. Tang, the vehicles you ordered have arrived. We were originally planning to deliver them to the university as you requested. Where would you like us to bring them now? I thought for a second. Go ahead and come to campus. Call me when you arrive. I hung up. The female student union member looked obviously annoyed. What's more important than the university dealing with your case? I couldn't be bothered to respond to her. I only asked Counselor Wang, so what's the final decision? He said, for now, you'll be sent home for 7 days to reflect on your behavior. You'll also need to write a self-criticism. My eyes lit up instantly. 7 days. There was actually a punishment this good? I stood up immediately. Counselor Wang, I accept. I'll go pack right now. Even he was stunned by my attitude. Most students who heard they were being disciplined would beg and plead. I looked like I'd won the lottery. That actually made him think I had a good attitude. Since you're so willing to admit your mistake, I can speak with the university and see whether we can shorten the 7 days. My expression changed instantly. Counselor Wang, please don't. I've already reflected deeply on what I did. The university's decision is completely reasonable. 7 days is perfect. There's absolutely no need to shorten it by even 1 day. The more he listened, the more convinced Counselor Wang became that I had an excellent attitude toward discipline. He even reduced the required length of my written self-criticism. After leaving the office, I immediately went back to the dorm to pack. On the way, I posted in the group chat. The university sent me home to reflect for 7 days. Dinner tonight is still on. In my head, The next week was already planned. 7 days with no classes. Stay at a luxury hotel. Eat great food. Go wherever I wanted. Perfect. Not long afterward, the Porsche staff called again. Mr. Tang, our transport trucks have entered the university. Where should we park? I said, near Teaching Building 6. I'll come over. I drove the BMW X7 there. It happened to be between classes. Shinmayan saw my car from upstairs and immediately ran down. Students nearby started whispering. That's him. The freshman with the X7. Is Shinmayan really that close to him? She ran up to me. Well, what did the university decide? 7 days at home to reflect. She looked worried. Do you want me to talk to the student union? I shook my head. Forget it. 7 days is actually kind of short. She stared at me. Wasn't a normal person supposed to complain that 7 days was too long? She seemed to finally realize that if she kept waiting for me to make the first move, nothing between us would ever progress. So she asked, the day after tomorrow is the weekend. Are you free? I'll treat you to a meal. I deliberately asked, how many people? She immediately got a little nervous. Just, the two of us. At most, Wang Fengfeng might come too. I smiled. I'm in. Shinmayan finally relaxed. Just then, a Porsche 911 made a very conspicuous entrance and pulled up in front of the teaching building. Jojo got out. He had clearly dressed more formally than usual, and he was holding 2 movie tickets. Mayan. Best seats in the IMAX theater this weekend. Come with me. Shinmayan immediately took a step closer to me. No. Jojo looked at me, then at the Porsche behind him, and his confidence came rushing back. Bro, if you're going to rent a car, at least rent something decent. Don't you know girls like Porsches more? I was honestly stunned. This guy had actually managed to convince himself that his theory was true. He even said outright, mine is rented, sure. But if you can rent one, why can't I? At least I'm from Yuecheng. My family owns 2 apartments here. If Mayan is with me, she'll have a secure future. Shinmayan finally lost patience. Jojo, your biggest problem isn't that you're poor, and it isn't that your circumstances aren't good enough. It's that you care too much about packaging yourself. You're not nearly as impressive as you want people to think you are, but you're always trying to make everyone believe you are. The people around us gradually fell silent. She continued, there are plenty of local guys who like me. There are also plenty whose families are better off than yours. So stop using the fact that you're from Yuecheng, or that your family owns property, as proof that you're somehow special. Then she added, and you really can't compare yourself to Tang Luochuan. Jojo's face turned bright red. I wasn't showing off. But I don't like you, Shinmayan said directly. I never have. And please tell your friends to stop looking at me like there's something going on between us. I'm not embarrassed by it. I'm just annoyed. Jojo was thoroughly humiliated and furious. He pointed at me. Then what about him? Isn't his car rented too? Shinmayan immediately answered, his car is real. His clothes are real too. Jojo looked as if he'd finally found a hole in her argument. Real? Then why did the university send him home to reflect? Right then, Counselor Wang approached with the 2 student union members. Why is everyone gathered here? Before he had even finished speaking, several large vehicle transport trucks appeared in the distance. They pulled up directly near the teaching building. All the staff were dressed in professional uniforms. One of them walked straight toward me. Mr. Tang, hello. I'm with the Porsche delivery team. Another person came over as well. Mr. Tang, Lamborghini has delivered your vehicle too. The entire area went silent. Counselor Wang froze. Both student union members froze. Jojo couldn't say a word. The students watching from around the building immediately erupted into whispers. Those are all his? They're not rentals. The staff began unloading the cars. First came the purple Porsche Taycan. Then the black Porsche Panamera. Finally, the Lamborghini supercar. One after another, the vehicles rolled off the transport trucks. Everyone around us stared in disbelief. You could still claim that one BMW had been rented, but now official brand representatives had come directly to campus to deliver several brand new cars. Calling all of them rentals at this point would be an insult to everyone's intelligence. I turned to Counselor Wang and explained with complete sincerity. Counselor Wang, I really wasn't trying to show off when I drove the BMW yesterday. It's just that BMW was the only one I could take home immediately. His glasses looked like they were about to slide right off his nose. The expressions on the 2 student union members' faces were equally priceless. The guy from earlier finally seemed to realize how ridiculous it had been to stand in front of someone capable of spending astronomical sums every day and lecture him about not flaunting wealth. Jojo's rented Porsche 911, parked nearby, suddenly looked painfully awkward. But what bothered him most was probably something else. I had barely paid attention to him from beginning to end. He had decided I was his greatest romantic rival. I hadn't even considered him an opponent. After giving the cars a quick inspection, I said, "Find a hotel where we can park them for now. I don't have a place near campus yet. Looks like I'll need to buy one." The staff fell silent again. Other people might spend years preparing to buy a home. I said it like I was talking about buying a bottle of water. Counselor Wong spoke up on his own. "Now that your situation has been clarified, I can apply to have the 7-day reflection period cancelled." I refused instantly. "Counselor Wong, no need. 7 days is great. I'd already booked a luxury hotel suite for 7 nights. Eat, drink, relax every day. If the punishment got cancelled, wouldn't I have to come back to class?" Counselor Wong clearly couldn't understand my logic. I turned to Shinmayan. "You remember tonight, right? See you at the main gate." She answered immediately. "I remember. I don't have classes this afternoon either." Jojo stood nearby with an expression so dark it was almost unreadable. I picked up the Lamborghini key. The door slowly lifted upward. I got in and asked Shinmayan one more time, "Just the two of us this afternoon?" She looked at me. This time, she didn't hesitate. "Yeah." I drove off in the Lamborghini. Campus exploded all over again. After Shinmayan returned to class, she immediately started secretly looking up places for us to eat that afternoon. She didn't want me to think she was getting close to me because of money. So she wanted somewhere nice, but not so expensive that she had no chance of paying for it herself. Ideally, she wanted to cover the whole meal. Wang Fengfeng sighed beside her. "Mayan, Tang Luochuan is unreal," Li Jiechi said sourly. "Being rich doesn't mean he's a good person. Plenty of rich kids are players." Then she warned Shinmayan, "Are you seriously planning to go out with him alone this afternoon?" "Yeah. You've known him for 2 days. You really think a guy that rich has trouble finding beautiful women? Why is he being nice to you specifically? At the end of the day, isn't it because you're pretty?" Shinmayan started to hesitate. Li Jiechi seized the opening. "I'll go with you. I'll help you figure out what he actually wants. If he's genuinely a good guy, I'll support you. If something's wrong, I can look out for you too." Shinmayan looked conflicted. "But I already told him it'd just be the two of us." Li Jiechi lowered her voice. "What if he takes you to a hotel? What if you have a little to drink? What are you going to do once you're in a room with him?" Shinmayan's face turned red instantly. Even Wang Fengfeng agreed that bringing a friend along would be safer. In the end, Shinmayan agreed. Meanwhile, I knew absolutely nothing about the discussion. I was lying on the huge bed in my luxury hotel suite when my phone chimed. Shinmayan had sent a message. "Can I bring one of my roommates this afternoon? She insists on coming." I replied immediately. "Sure." A girl being cautious the first time she went out with a guy she barely knew was completely normal. I didn't mind at all. Right after that, another message arrived. "Jiang Jingyue, why aren't you in class?" I couldn't help laughing when I saw it. I replied. "I got sent home for 7 days to reflect because I showed off too much wealth." When Jiang Jingyue saw the message in the classroom, she laughed too. Several guys nearby stared at her in shock. Someone who was normally so aloof was actually smiling at her phone. She quickly returned to normal and replied, "Sounds nice." After thinking for a moment, she added, "See you at Royal Banquet tonight. Want me to bring your textbooks?" I replied, "Burn them." The corner of Jiang Jingyue's mouth lifted again. Get lost. Without either of us noticing, we had already become much more familiar with each other. I stayed sprawled across the hotel bed and went back to looking at property. Huge luxury apartments covering several hundred square meters, priced in the tens of millions of yuan. There were even bigger ones. There were plenty of villas too, but most were too far away. In the end, I decided to buy the large Riverview apartment near the university. Then the class group chat suddenly started tagging me. "Tang Luochuan. The whole class is having dinner tonight. Are you coming?" I had planned to refuse because I'd already made plans with Shinmayan. But the group quickly started debating where to eat. 300 yuan per person is too expensive. Let's keep it around 100 per person. I'm broke right now. Find somewhere cheaper. I watched them debate for ages over a difference of a few dozen or 100 yuan and didn't know what to say. A few minutes earlier, I'd been deciding whether to buy an apartment worth tens of millions. Now a group of classmates was inviting me to a dinner with a budget of around 100 yuan per person. The contrast made me laugh. Then more and more people in the group started tagging me. "Luochuan, come on. Everyone's waiting for you." I understood quickly enough. After the luxury car deliveries, everyone now knew I was genuinely rich. The girls wanted to get to know me. The guys wanted to get closer to me too. Finally, I replied, "Sure. Can I bring someone?" Someone answered almost immediately. "Of course. Anyone dating can bring their partner. Friends are fine too." So I messaged Chinmayan. "Change of plans. Royal banquet is turning into a class dinner tonight. Come with me." She replied, "Wouldn't it be weird for me to go to your class dinner?" I wrote back, "They said we can bring a partner." The moment Chinmayan saw the word partner, she went quiet on the other side of the phone. She held the device and stared at the message for a long time. We hadn't actually defined our relationship, but that word still made her feel something different. Wang Fengfeng leaned over. "What happened?" Chinmayan's face was a little red. He said, "People can bring a partner to the class dinner." Wang Fengfeng's eyes lit up. "Wow. Already? It's not what you think," Chinmayan denied quickly. Li Jieqi, however, reminded her coldly, "Think it through. If you go as his partner, everyone will assume you've made things official. If you later find out he's unreliable, you'll be the one embarrassed." Chinmayan fell silent for a moment. Suddenly, she felt that she really did need a clear answer. So she picked up her phone and asked me, "I can go. But, what exactly am I going as?" She had expected me to at least think about it for a while. Instead, my reply appeared almost instantly. "Nothing special." Chinmayan froze. Wang Fengfeng got angry when she saw it too. "What does that mean? Is he messing with you?" Li Jieqi immediately said, "See? I told you. You can't judge a person just by whether he has money. You still need to figure out what kind of person he actually is." I, meanwhile, had absolutely no idea what was happening in the women's dorm. I was lying comfortably on the bed in my hotel suite, completely unaware that one casual sentence from me had thrown the dorm into a fresh round of chaos. Of course, I had no idea what was going on in the women's dorm. After sending nothing special, I tossed my phone aside and went back to studying the Riverview apartment near campus. The location was good. It was close to the university, and the view was great. More importantly, if my parents suddenly video called to check on me, I could at least pretend I was living near campus and studying seriously every day. As for the hotel, I couldn't stay there forever. I was just about to contact the agent when my phone vibrated again. Chinmayan still hadn't replied. I looked at the screen and found it a little strange. She usually answered pretty quickly, but I didn't think too much about it. Maybe she was taking a shower. Then another profile picture popped up. "Jiang Jingyue. Royal banquet is packed tonight. Did you reserve a table?" I paused. "Can't we just show up and eat?" She was silent for more than 10 seconds before replying. "Is this your first time going there?" "Yeah. At night, you pretty much always need a reservation." I thought for a moment. "Then what do we do?" Jiang Jingyue replied quickly. "I can ask around for you." At that moment, I suddenly felt that this girl was pretty useful after all. "All right." Not long afterward, she messaged again. "The regular private rooms are all booked. There's still space in the banquet hall upstairs, but the Yueching Chamber of Commerce has an event there tonight. It's closed to the public." I casually replied, "We'll deal with it when we get there." Jiang Jingyue clearly didn't understand. What does "deal with it when we get there" mean? If there's no space, we'll find a way to get some. She sent me a question mark. I didn't explain further because my phone rang again. This time, it was the bank. As the amount of money in my account grew more absurd, the bank's attitude toward me became stranger and stranger. Back when I went to a branch just to apply for a card, the staff had told me to take a number and wait. Now, the person assigned to my account seemed ready to ask 8 times a day whether I needed anything. The moment I answered, the voice on the other end was extremely polite. "Mr. Tang, you previously asked us to keep an eye out for large residences near your university. We've narrowed it down to several properties and sent you the information. There's also a commercial asset in an excellent location." I asked casually, "What is it?" "The commercial building where Royal Banquet is located." I paused. "Royal Banquet?" "Yes. The current owner is considering transferring the entire property. Because the transaction is quite large, it hasn't been publicly listed yet. At first, I had no interest at all. I wanted to buy a home because I needed somewhere to live. What would I do with a hotel? Stand at the entrance every day and welcome guests myself? Forget it." I was about to hang up when the banker added, "Mr. Tang, if you're interested, we can contact the owner for you. The property, management team, and hotel brand can all be negotiated together. You wouldn't need to operate it personally." When I heard that last part, I suddenly thought it might not be completely useless. At least it would be convenient. Send me the information first. Of course. After hanging up, I went back to lying around. It wasn't until the afternoon that Shinmayan finally replied. One word. Fine. I stared at that fine for a long time. Why did it feel wrong somehow? I thought about it, then sent another message. What time should I pick you up? Whenever. That felt even more wrong. But I genuinely couldn't figure out why. So I decided not to think about it. If understanding women was harder than making money, then making money was definitely the simpler option. That evening, I drove the Lamborghini to the women's dorm. As soon as I arrived downstairs, I saw Lee Jiechi standing beside Shinmayan. Shinmayan had obviously put effort into getting ready. Her long hair was down, and she had changed into a light-colored dress. When she saw my car, the coolness in her expression visibly softened. But the moment I stepped out, she deliberately turned her face away again. Now I was even more confused. Mayan, are you in a bad mood today? No. Then why do you look like I owe you money? She whipped her head around and glared at me. You're the one who owes money. I relaxed. She still had enough energy to yell at me. The problem probably wasn't too serious. Lee Jiechi, however, kept staring at my car. Only after I opened the door did she smile and ask, Tang Luochuan, did you really buy this car? Yeah. Your family bought it for you? No. She looked surprised. Then where did you get this much money? I immediately became cautious. That was one question I couldn't answer honestly. The system had warned me never to reveal its existence. So I said casually, I earned it. Doing what? I'd rather not say. Lee Jiechi's expression changed slightly. I didn't care. Shinmayan suddenly asked, then what about me? What about you? She looked straight at me. You said people could bring a partner to the class dinner. I asked what I was going as, and you said I wasn't anything special. She was clearly unhappy by the time she finished. I finally understood. So that was the problem. I thought for a few seconds. You're Shinmayan. She froze. I continued, we've known each other for 2 days. What am I supposed to do? Introduce you to everyone as my girlfriend already? Her face instantly turned red. I didn't ask you to say that. Then there you go. I looked genuinely confused. If you absolutely need some kind of title. She instinctively looked at me. Lee Jiechi perked up too. I said, you're the person I specifically came to pick up today. Shinmayan had still looked a little angry a second earlier. But after hearing that, the corner of her mouth visibly twitched. She wanted to smile. She held it back. At least you know how to say something nice. That confused me even more. That counted as saying something nice? I was just telling the truth. By the time we arrived at Royal Banquet, quite a few people from my class were already there. The atmosphere was obviously completely different from the day before. The moment I walked in, several classmates who had barely spoken to me before came over to greet me. Luo Chuan. Over here. Bro, those cars yesterday were insane. What's the Lamborghini like to drive? Someone even asked directly, can I take a picture with it? I tossed him the key. Go ahead. The guy froze. Aren't you afraid I'll drive it away? Do you know how to drive it? No. Then what's the problem? Everyone around us burst out laughing. That was when I saw Jiang Jinghua sitting by the window. Instead of the simple outfit she'd worn during the day, she had changed into a long black dress. She stood out even more than she did on campus. Quite a few guys clearly wanted to sit beside her, but the chair next to her had remained empty. When she saw me, she tapped the seat with one finger. Here. I was about to walk over when Shinmayan suddenly moved first and sat down in the empty chair. Then she looked at Jiang Jinghua. Jinghua, is someone sitting here? Jiang Jinghua looked back at her. After a few seconds, she smiled. There is now. I didn't understand what either of them meant. In the end, I could only sit between them. The second I sat down, I felt that something about the atmosphere was strange. Shinmayan on my left. Jiang Jinghua on my right. The guys around the table were no longer looking at me with envy. It had become outright hatred. Zhang Ming was sitting across from me. He sent me a message. Bro, you probably shouldn't talk right now. I looked up at him. Why? He lowered his head and typed back. Don't you enjoy being alive? What a psycho. I was about to put my phone down when Jiang Jinghua suddenly asked, so she's your partner? Shinmayan immediately looked over. I answered, the class group said we could bring someone. So I brought her. Jiang Jinghua nodded. Oh. For some reason, that "oh" sounded strange. I asked, what's wrong with you? Nothing. Then why do you sound so sarcastic? She laughed outright. Tang Luochuan, I hope you stay this oblivious forever. What does that mean? Nothing. At that point, I stopped asking. It was just dinner. Why did it feel more exhausting than an exam? Just as everyone was getting ready to order, the door to the private room suddenly opened. A server stepped inside. "I'm sorry. Who made tonight's reservation?" The class monitor stood up. "I did." The server looked uncomfortable. "There is an important event upstairs tonight, and we have more guests than expected. We need to move this private room." Several classmates immediately complained. "We're already seated. Why are you moving us now?" The server hurried to explain. "We can move everyone to another floor. Your menu and pricing won't change." People weren't happy, but they didn't object too strongly. After all, it was only a different room. Then a familiar voice came from outside. "Mayan?" I knew who it was the second I heard it. Jojo. He had actually come too. He was dressed especially formally tonight and had several guys with him. The moment he saw me, his expression changed. Then he quickly smiled again. "What a coincidence. You're eating here too?" No one answered. Shinmayan even lowered her eyes to the menu. Jojo looked awkward, but then he noticed the server. "What's going on?" The server explained the situation. After hearing it, Jojo actually smiled. "The Chamber of Commerce has an event upstairs at Royal Banquet tonight. Regular customers really do have to make room." Then he deliberately looked at me. "Places like this aren't somewhere money can solve every problem. You need connections too." I almost laughed. Yesterday, he'd rented a Porsche. Today, he'd moved on to talking about connections. This guy found a new category to compete in every single day. Lee Jiechi suddenly asked, "Jojo, do you know someone here?" He immediately perked up. "I know one of the managers. My dad had dinner with him before." He took out his phone. "I'll ask for you." A few minutes later, a middle-aged man in a suit actually came over. "Student Joe?" Jojo stood immediately. "Manager Chen." The man nodded politely. "Your father did work with us before. What can I do for you?" Jojo said quickly, "Our class is having dinner. Could you arrange a better private room for us?" Manager Chen looked troubled. "We're genuinely very full tonight, but I'll do my best to coordinate something." Jojo immediately looked smug. He glanced at me as if to say, "See that? This is what real influence looks like." I nearly laughed again. Then Lee Jiechi said quietly, "Some people can drive cars as expensive as they want, but once they come somewhere truly high-end, don't they still need connections?" She hadn't spoken loudly, but almost everyone nearby heard her. Shinmayan immediately frowned. "Jiechi, that's enough." Lee Jiechi said, "I'm just stating a fact. There are plenty of genuinely rich people. Yuecheng isn't short on rich kids either. Being able to spend money doesn't mean you're capable." I hadn't planned to respond at all, but hearing that reminded me of the information the bank had sent that afternoon. Royal Banquet. The commercial building. Entire property available for transfer. I took out my phone and scrolled through the files. It really was this place. So I looked up at Manager Chen. "Is your owner here tonight?" He paused. "May I ask why?" "Just curious." Jojo laughed. "What? Are you going to ask the owner for a private room?" "He's upstairs tonight. He's attending the Chamber of Commerce banquet. But someone at that level isn't a person you can meet just because you feel like it." I nodded. "As long as he's here." Then I made a call. The bank answered almost immediately. "Mr. Tang. Have you reviewed the information?" "I have." "The Royal Banquet Project?" "Yes. I'm here right now. What do you think of it?" I looked around. The decor was nice. The location was good. It was close to campus. The only annoying part was that eating a meal here apparently involved getting moved out of your private room. So I said, "Buy it." The other end went silent for a second. "You mean, the entire project?" "Yeah. Didn't you say it was available for transfer?" "It is." "Then buy it." Everyone around the table went silent. I hadn't lowered my voice at all. Jojo stared at me for a few seconds, then burst out laughing. "What did you just say? You're buying Royal Banquet?" I looked at him. "Is there a problem? Do you even know how much this place is worth?" "No. You don't know, and you're still buying it? That's why I have other people handling it." I said it as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. The private room fell completely silent. Lee Jiechi's expression had become almost impossible to describe. After a while, she finally said, "Tang Luochuan, even if you're rich, this isn't how you brag. Buying a car and buying an entire hotel are two different things." I nodded. "True. With a car, you can just swipe your card. This seems like it needs paperwork." Everyone stared at me. The bank representative clearly hadn't hung up yet. A moment later, he said, "Mr. Tang, the current owner is at Royal Banquet tonight. If you're certain, we can send a team there immediately. We'll prepare proof of funds and the transfer documents at the same time. You'll only need to give final confirmation. I asked, is it a hassle? Not much of one for you personally. All right. Come over. I ended the call. The smile on Jojo's face had become stiff, but he still said, nice performance. You make one random phone call and suddenly you're buying the place? Before I could answer, Jiang Jinghua spoke. That wasn't a random phone call. Everyone looked at her. Her expression remained calm. I saw the incoming call screen earlier. It was the dedicated service number for a private banking team. That bank doesn't assign teams like that to ordinary clients. Jojo immediately asked, how would you know? Jiang Jinghua looked at him. Because my father has one too. Jojo fell silent. He had almost forgotten that Jiang Jinghua herself came from one of Yuecheng's genuinely wealthy families. She might not know exactly how much money I had, but she did know what the world of truly wealthy people looked like. Li Jiechi finally seemed nervous. Maybe it's just his family. Jiang Jinghua added, the person on the phone called him Mr. Tang. Not young Master Tang. You probably don't understand the difference. The room became even quieter. I couldn't help looking at her. There's a difference? She rolled her eyes at me. Are you actually rich or not? How would I know? I somehow managed to make her laugh in frustration. Less than half an hour later, the private room door opened again. This time, it wasn't a server. A group of people in suits walked in. The man in front entered and immediately looked toward the table. Which of you is Mr. Tang Luochuan? I raised my hand. Here. He walked over at once. Mr. Tang, hello. I'm the consultant responsible for this transaction. The current owner has agreed to meet with you. As soon as he finished speaking, a man in his 50s entered behind him. The moment Manager Chen saw him, his expression changed. Chairman? Jojo, who had been looking so pleased with himself only minutes earlier, went completely stiff. The man came over to me with an extremely polite attitude. Mr. Tang, I didn't expect you to be so young. When we received the message upstairs, I thought the bank was joking. I stood and shook his hand. I didn't expect it to be this much trouble either. He paused, then laughed. A transaction involving an asset this large does require a process, but your team has already sent over proof of funds and your terms. There shouldn't be many problems left. That wasn't what I cared about most. I pointed toward the table. So can we still eat here tonight? The entire room went silent again. The owner looked at me, then at my classmates around the table. He clearly hadn't expected the person trying to buy such a large property to be most concerned about keeping a private dining room. Of course. You won't be moved tonight. I nodded in satisfaction. Good. Jojo stood nearby with no expression left on his face at all. A few minutes earlier, he'd been saying money couldn't solve every problem. He'd said places like this required connections. Now the owner himself was standing in front of me asking when I wanted to sign. Then I remembered something. I looked at Jojo. By the way, didn't you just say you knew the manager here? His lips moved. Manager Chen looked awkward too. I waved a hand. Relax. I'm not planning to fire anyone over something like this. Manager Chen visibly exhaled. I continued, but in the future, if students reserve a room, don't make them move halfway through the meal. Just run the business normally. Whoever booked first gets the room. The current owner nodded. No problem. I looked at the class monitor. You haven't ordered yet, right? And no. Then keep going. Dinner's on me today. The class monitor instinctively said, weren't we supposed to split the bill for the class dinner? I thought about it. Then split the meal. Everyone visibly relaxed. A second later, I added, I'll pay for the hotel. The private room was silent for 3 full seconds. Then it exploded. Holy! Tang Luochuan. You call this treating us? We're splitting dinner and you bought the entire hotel? Zhang Ming covered his face. Bro, I thought yesterday was already the biggest flex possible. Turns out yesterday was just the warm-up. I looked innocent. I wasn't trying to flex. I just wanted to buy something near campus. I was originally planning to buy a home. Buying one extra property isn't that different. No one wanted to talk to me anymore. The most embarrassed person of all was Jojo. Right then, his phone started ringing. He clearly didn't want to answer, but the caller tried several times in a row. Finally, he stepped aside and picked up. Not long afterward, a man appeared at the doorway. Mr. Zhou, your rental period is over. We need to take the vehicle back now. The room fell silent yet again. Jojo turned red all the way to his ears. The Porsche he'd deliberately driven here today was rented too. The rental company employee continued seriously, you said you'd return it before this evening. We couldn't reach you, so we had to come here using the vehicle's location. Someone finally failed to hold in a laugh. Then more and more people lowered their heads, shoulders shaking violently. Jojo snapped in embarrassment. What are you laughing at? I already said the car was rented. What's wrong with renting a car? I nodded. Nothing. It's fine. At least you're being honest now. The laughter grew louder. Jojo couldn't keep his composure anymore. He looked at Shinmayan. Mayan, do you really only like him because he's rich, so? Shinmayan suddenly stood up. The smile had completely disappeared from her face. Jojo, I'm going to say this one last time. Me not liking you has nothing to do with whether Tang Luochuan has money. The first time I rejected you, I didn't even know him yet. Jojo froze. She continued, you're the one who's been comparing money with him ever since you met him. When you couldn't compete on cars, you started talking about apartments. When that wasn't enough, you talked about being a local. Now you're talking about connections. So which one of us is actually obsessed with money? Jojo opened his mouth. Nothing came out. In the end, he could only turn and leave. The rental company employee hurried after him. Mr. Zhou. The car key. The entire room burst into laughter again. Li Jiechi hadn't said anything for a long time. Only after everyone sat back down did she quietly say, Mayan, I was worried about you before. Shinmayan looked at her. I know. But what about the things posted on the anonymous campus board? Li Jiechi's face changed instantly. I hadn't understood what they were talking about. What campus board? At that exact moment, a message from Counselor Wang appeared in the class group chat. Regarding the recent malicious rumors targeting student Tang Luochuan, the university has completed its preliminary investigation. Some anonymous posts contained clear fabrications. The relevant accounts and individuals who spread the material have been identified. The university will handle each case accordingly. The class went silent. People started digging through old group messages. Before long, one girl suddenly looked up at Li Jiechi with a very strange expression. Li Jiechi shot to her feet. I only reposted it. I wasn't the one who started it. No one said anything. She realized she'd just given herself away. Her face went pale. Shinmayan frowned. Didn't you keep saying you had only seen other people discussing it? Li Jiechi bit her lip. I just thought there was something wrong with him. I was trying to protect you too. Shinmayan was silent for several seconds. Then she said only, you're allowed to dislike someone. But you can't make up stories because you dislike them. And you especially can't do it while claiming it's for my own good. Li Jiechi had nothing left to say. She grabbed her bag and left. The mood became a little awkward. I didn't feel much of anything. Honestly, I had never taken the anonymous campus rumors seriously. If anything, I was a little disappointed that the university hadn't expelled me over them. The 7-day reflection period was still the best benefit I'd managed to get so far. After that, dinner became lively again. The former owner of Royal Banquet personally had the kitchen add several dishes. At first, everyone in class was a little restrained. By the middle of the meal, they had completely relaxed. Even Jiang Jingyue drank a little alcohol. Shinmayan stayed seated on my left the entire time. Halfway through dinner, she suddenly asked, did you really buy this place? Probably. What do you mean, probably? They're working on the contracts. I didn't read them. She looked as if she couldn't understand me at all. Something this big and you don't even read the paperwork? Someone else is reading it. Then what are you doing? Eating. She stared at me for a long time. Then she suddenly laughed. Tang Luochuan, you can be unbelievably irritating sometimes. I was even more confused. What did I do now? Nothing. She picked up a piece of food and put it in my bowl. Just eat. Jiang Jingyue saw that from my right and put a piece in my bowl too. This one's good. I looked at the bowl, then at both of them. Do neither of you have hands? Jiang Jingyue nearly choked. Shinmayan glared at me outright. At that point, I became completely certain of one thing. Women were genuinely difficult to understand. By the time dinner ended, it was already late. My classmates gradually left. I was preparing to have drivers take the cars back to the hotel when Shinmayan stopped at the entrance. Did you drink? No. Then drive me back. She said it as naturally as anything. I was about to agree when Jiang Jingyue came out behind us. I'm on the way. I looked at her. Doesn't your family live in Bating District? That's not the same direction as the dorms. Jiang Jingyue didn't change expression. I'm staying in the dorm tonight. Shinmayan looked at her. Jiang Jingyue looked back. They both smiled at the same time. I suddenly had a very dangerous feeling. In the end, I drove the BMW. The reason was simple. The Lamborghini only had room for two. The Porsches weren't convenient either. At least all three of us fit comfortably in the BMW. Shinmayan sat in the front passenger seat. Jiang Jinghua sat in the back. We hadn't driven far when Jiang Jinghua suddenly spoke. Tang Luochuan. Yeah? Didn't you say this afternoon that you were going to buy a large apartment? Yeah. Did you buy it? Probably. Shinmayan immediately turned her head. What do you mean, probably? The agent is handling it. She was completely speechless. Jiang Jinghua asked, You're living there alone? Yeah. In a place that big? More room. She gave a soft, oh. Then Shinmayan suddenly asked, Is it close to school? Pretty close. Can we come over sometime? I answered casually, Sure. Jiang Jinghua immediately added, Then I'm going too. I looked at her in the rearview mirror. Doesn't your family already live in Yuecheng? Am I not allowed to go? You are. Shinmayan didn't say anything. After a while, she suddenly asked, Who's going first? I almost hit the brakes. What do you mean, who's going first? Her face turned red. Forget it. I'm not going. I had absolutely no idea what I'd said wrong this time. On the first day of my 7-day reflection period, I slept until I woke up naturally. As usual, a new deposit notification appeared in my banking app. It had become as familiar as a morning alarm. The system's voice sounded at the same time. Today's base allowance has been issued. I lay there with my eyes closed for a few minutes, feeling great. No early class. No military training. No attendance check. Now this was what college life should be like. I even seriously wondered if I should find some way to get a few extra days of reflection. Then the doorbell rang. Normally, no one came to my hotel suite. I walked over in slippers and opened the door. Shinmayan was standing outside with breakfast in her hands. I froze. Why are you here? She lifted the bag. Didn't we agree that I'd treat you to a meal this weekend? Yesterday didn't count. Why not? You bought the hotel yesterday. How was I supposed to treat you there? Fair point. I let her in. She had barely entered the living room when the doorbell rang again. I opened the door a second time. This time, Jiang Jinghua was standing outside holding several books. My expression became a little strange. Why are you here too? She handed me the books. Your textbooks. Didn't I tell you to burn them? I don't think your parents would agree. I had no response. She actually had a point. Jiang Jinghua was about to come inside when she suddenly saw Shinmayan in the living room. Her step paused. Shinmayan looked over too. The two of them were silent for several seconds. Jiang Jinghua smiled first. Mayan. You're here early. Shinmayan smiled just as pleasantly. I brought him breakfast. What about you? Books. Oh. Standing between them, I felt for the first time that a suite covering several hundred square meters was somehow too small. In the end, I was the one who broke the silence. Why are you both standing there? Come in. They entered the living room one after the other. Shinmayan put the breakfast on the table. Jiang Jinghua set the textbooks beside it. Then both of them looked at me at the same time. For some reason, I suddenly felt like going back to class. At least the classroom was safe. Shinmayan suddenly asked, Tang Luochuan, do you have plans today? No. Then come out with me after breakfast. I was about to agree when Jiang Jinghua said, What a coincidence. I don't have class this afternoon either. Shinmayan looked at her. Jinghua, I asked him first. Jiang Jinghua remained perfectly calm. He hasn't said yes yet. Both of them looked at me again. I fell silent. I'd always thought the biggest downside of the system was that it gave me too much money every day and wouldn't let me tell anyone about it. Now I finally understood. The system itself wasn't troublesome at all. Money problems were the easiest problems in the world to solve. The real trouble was standing right in front of me. My phone chose that exact moment to vibrate. The bank had sent me a message. Mr. Tang, the remaining procedures for the royal banquet transaction have been arranged. In addition, the Riverview residence you purchased is ready for handover today. The moment I read it, my mood improved dramatically. Sure enough, spending money was much simpler. I picked up my car keys. Stop arguing. Let's go look at the apartment first. Shinmayan blinked. All of us? Yeah. Jiang Jinghua asked, and after that? I thought about it. We'll eat after we see the apartment. You two can choose whatever you want. Anyway, the restaurant's around there. I suddenly stopped. Shinmayan looked at me suspiciously. You're not thinking of buying another one, are you? Jiang Jinghua couldn't help laughing too. Tang Luochuan, you really should calm down. I slipped the car key into my pocket. Relax. I'm not buying a hotel today. Both of them visibly relaxed. Then I added, unless the food is really good. The living room went silent for 2 seconds. Then 2 throw pillows flew at me at the same time. I dodged quickly. What are you doing? Shinmayan gritted her teeth. Tang Luochuan. Jiang Jinghua laughed as she picked up another pillow. Don't run. I bolted for the door. For the first time, I realized that having so much money arrive every day didn't necessarily mean life would be free of trouble forever. But, I glanced back at the two girls chasing me. One was red-faced with anger. The other was clearly smiling while still trying to look composed. And suddenly, I thought this kind of trouble didn't seem all that bad. As for which one of them would eventually become my girlfriend, I didn't know. At least, not yet. College had only just begun. The system was still depositing money every single day. I still hadn't bought enough cars. I'd only just started looking at property. Yuecheng was a huge city, and the people at school who had looked down on me, doubted me, or waited to see me humiliated probably still hadn't truly realized one thing. The luxury cars delivered yesterday. Buying royal banquet tonight. None of that was some grand peak for me. It didn't even count as a beginning. Because when other people spent money, they had to think about how much they had left. Every morning when I woke up, I only had to think about one other question. What was I going to spend today's money on? The elevator doors opened. Chinmayan stood on my left. Jiang Jinghua stood on my right. Neither of them made any effort to step away. I looked left, then right. Finally, I silently stayed in the middle. Forget it. We'd look at the apartment first. Relationships were something I could figure out slowly. After all, the two things I had more of than anything else were time and money.